What's happening, guys? It's Boxing Lowdown, and I'm back here with another video, a special preview video here at the YouTube space in London. I'm joined by my dad, Laurie from AFTV. You guys might know him already.
Big shout outs to everybody.
And we're here to preview the big fight this weekend, man. A fight I've been waiting for a long time, the rematch between Anthony Joshua and Andy Ruiz. And going back at it, the first fight, man, between these two, I remember when it was first announced, like, obviously Jarrell Miller failed the drugs test, and Andy Ruiz was announced as AJ's opponent. And there was a lot of criticism coming from everywhere, all over Twitter, all over online. People were just like, oh, who is this fat guy? Who is he? But I remember me and you were talking, just as we do every day on WhatsApp and stuff, and you were telling me, like, look, people are underestimating this guy. And
yeah, man, I was like, people are sleeping on Andy Ruiz because, listen, I'm a lifelong boxing fan. Daryl grew up the same way. The whole family's into our boxing. And I've been following boxing, as you know, from forever. And I've been watching Andy Ruiz for a minute, man. I mean, most notably the fight he had with Joseph Parker a few years prior. I was one of those who thought he won that fight.
His only defeat.
Yeah, I thought he won. I mean, the fight was in New Zealand. All the backing, all the promotional backing was with Joseph Parker at the time. So it was very doubtful whether he'd got a decision. But I thought he'd more than done enough to win that fight.
Yep.
So initially, obviously, the fight AJ was with Jarrell Miller.
Yep.
Which to me, that would have been a far easier fight for AJ. When they announced that Miller had been popped dirty for various illegal substances, and they announced a new opponent, and then I heard it was Ruiz. I remember I contacted you and we started chopping it up.
Yeah.
And I said to you that Ruiz represents a far bigger threat, far bigger threat than Jarrell Miller. And a lot of people slept on it, and I can understand why. If you're a boxing casual, you don't really know the history of the fighters, and you look at Ruiz's body shape.
Yep.
Aesthetically, you look at him and you think, oh, come on, man. AJ's supposed to deal with him easy. But those of us who had seen Ruiz fight knew what qualities he brought to the ring. You know, he's a very good boxer. He's aggressive, very quick hands, and he's got a decent chin.
And he's in his DNA as well. Like,
That's
he's
right.
been boxing since he was 5 years old.
Yeah.
And, like,
he represented Mexico in the Olympics.
Yeah.
So he's got an outstanding amateur record. This guy can fight, man.
I think it's fair to say that boxing hardcores like ourselves, we knew that what Ruiz could bring to the table.
Yeah.
And
I was worried for AJ going into the fight. I thought he would win. I'm not gonna
be one of those that
benefit
pretend
and say,
yeah,
I knew he was going to.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't like that. But I knew, myself and Robbie had talked about the fight. And Robbie was like, yo, man, who's that guy that AJ's fighting? He's supposed to slap up that. And I was like, Robbie, trust me. This guy represents a much bigger threat than the original opponent, Jarrell Miller. And Robbie's going, really? Come on, man. Look at that guy. He looks bigger than me. How can he be I goes, yeah, that may be true. But the guy has skills.
I'm surprised Uncle Robbie before that, because obviously he's into his boxing as well. So he knows the boxing, but looks can be deceiving.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think a lot of people fell for that. But I always knew it would be a hard fight.
And so it proved. I mean, going in, like, what the fight itself, when I was watching it, obviously we all watched it, and like the first 2 rounds, AJ actually won the first 2 rounds on all 3 of the judges' scorecards.
That's true.
But then
he was a bit tentative, though, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was. Yeah, it wasn't really a lot going on. But 3rd round onwards, it was just downhill. Dropped him with a perfectly timed left hook, then like went for the kill recklessly.
Yeah, he went in,
got caught, counter punch from Ruiz, and then did that punch, punch from the gods, all that stuff. Did that punch just affect the whole fight? Did that change everything?
Yeah, I think that fight. Yeah, I think that did. Because the thing with that punch, it's all people who have boxed and people who know boxing like yourself will know that he got caught with what we call a temple shot, which is back of the side of the brain here. And what that does, it scrambles your equilibrium. Okay, so and that controls all your balance and so forth. So once he got caught with that shot, he wasn't able to recover his motor neuron senses, and he was all over the place. So that's why, I mean, I think he got knocked down 4 times in that fight.
Yep, in total.
Some of the other knockdowns came from punches that didn't appear to be that hard. But the problem for AJ was his equilibrium had already been scrambled, so he wasn't able to recover his legs.
Yep.
And that's something that can happen quite easily in a boxing match.
Yep.
A guy can get hit full in the chin, or in the face, or in the forehead, the middle of the forehead, and it will snap his head back, and people think, how did he take that? Wow. But then that same fighter could get hit on the side of the head, the top of the head, or the back of the head, and all of a sudden his legs are gone, and you think, wow, this man looks like, he's all over the place. But to rewind it back a little bit, I was a bit concerned for AJ coming into the fight because, again, we follow boxing closely, and
Body
I
language.
heard, and I know you'd heard, that there's stories about AJ, he'd been either knocked out,
What do you make of those
dropped
conspiracy
heavily.
theories?
No, I believed it.
Yeah.
I believed it because the reason is they were coming from multiple sources. And if you got your ear to the ground like we do, and you speak to people, or I know people in the journalism profession, and I was hearing rumours that he was looking bad in sparring, he'd been dropped and so forth. And I remember on the night watching the fight, just his demeanour, the way he came into the ring, that didn't look like the AJ we saw in front of 90,000 fans at Wembley, smiling, relaxed, looking in full control of his emotions. That night he looked distant, he looked nervous. He definitely wasn't himself. I mean, I'm not trying to make too many excuses for him.
Yeah.
But I remember I was watching it with my girlfriend, and I said to her, I said, look, he don't look right to me. I think there was even one telling moment just before they had the ring introductions.
I knew you.
AJ,
I know
he had his robe on,
Yep.
and he wasn't even warming up. And Rob McCracken, his head trainer, had to say to AJ, look, come on. And he wasn't bouncing around on nothing. His whole demeanour. And then subsequently we found out that, he'd had a concussion, which himself and Eddie Hearn seemed very keen to play it down, which I can understand.
Yep.
And yeah, there's something about him that wasn't right. And then, of course, we had the incident with his dad.
Yep.
The stories emanating after the fight that his dad was not happy
Do you
with his
believe?
condition going into the fight.
Do you believe the rumours of the panic attack and everything else? I mean, I know the sparring thing can happen, but what about the stories of him having a panic attack in the dressing room? Do you believe that, or obviously they're heavily denying that one, aren't they? That particular rumour.
That's a difficult one. Although I would say this, and the people out there know as well, there's no smoke without fire. Yeah. So even if it wasn't a panic attack, something about AJ going into that fight just wasn't right. Now that's not to say that he would have won anyway, because if you look at the history of AJ, he seems to have trouble. Even going back to his amateur days,
Yep.
I saw a lot of his amateur fights. He seemed to be better against the guys that were similar height and size to him.
Yep.
Guys that were shorter, bob and weave, and came in under a low guard, keep the fight low. He seemed to struggle more with that type of opponent.
Yep.
So Ruiz is not a best matchup for him, style-wise.
I've noticed a lot of people, like in the previews and everything else in the lead up to this fight, a lot of people are saying what AJ did wrong. What was wrong with AJ? Are people overlooking Ruiz again for the rematch? Are they not looking at what he did in particular? Because, I mean, at the end of the day, it wasn't like a one-punch knockout like what happened with Lennox Lewis and Rackman. It was a beating after the third round. From the third round onwards, in particular the sixth round before the stoppage, the body shots that Ruiz was landing on Joshua, those slowed him down a lot as well. But do you think people are overlooking Ruiz again in the rematch?
No, I think the balance of power shifted somewhat because I'm getting the impression anyway, certainly by the stuff that I'm looking at in the papers, on TV and on the internet and stuff. A lot of people are picking Ruiz to win, whereas previously, 6 months ago, no one was picking Ruiz. Hardly anyone. Like I said, even the people that thought that Ruiz would give him a very hard fight, stopping short of actually picking him to win. But it would appear that this time, for a whole host of reasons, everyone seems to be picking Ruiz. Even in this country, the people that are picking AJ, it appears to be out of some kind of patriotic loyalty.
Yeah.
Some have even openly said that they don't think AJ's going to win. Matthew Macklin is a guy I respect. I saw an interview with him the other day, and he says that he firmly thinks that Ruiz is going to beat him again. So, yeah, man, I mean, it's a very intriguing fight. It's the biggest fight of the year, without a doubt, and it's also one of the most, if not the most intriguing fight.
Yeah, absolutely.
For those reasons, so.
If you're AJ, if you're Anthony Joshua leading into fight week now, I mean, what's your mindset? I mean, to go in there with somebody that, beat you senseless.
Decisively.
Yeah, beat you decisively for like the last 6 months ago. To go in there against that person again, I mean, what's his mindset going into? What do you think his mindset will be like going into this? Was it a good idea? If you was his manager, for example, would you advise him to take an immediate rematch, or?
I must admit, when I heard that AJ was exercising his rematch clause, I was like, wow, are you sure that's the right thing to do? Because
there has been historical examples of...
Yeah, I mean, let's face it, straight out the gate, it's a proven statistical fact that most rematches are won by the person who won the first fight.
Yeah.
And not just one, they tend to win it more decisively than they did the previous time. So let's face it, had AJ not been champion, okay, hypothetically, had he not been champion, say Ruiz had been champion, or say they were meeting for a vacant belt, and what transpired and happened, I don't think there would be any cause for a rematch, because AJ was beaten soundly, he was beaten decisively. So realistically, the only reason why he's getting this rematch opportunity is because he was the champion, and there would have been a rematch clause inserted in the original contract.
Yeah.
So that being said, he's when I heard that he'd exercised the rematch clause, I was like, wow, are you sure? Because I think AJ got, and I'm a massive AJ fan. I met the guy, great guy. I love his whole story, how he even got into boxing and what he made of himself. Great. But if we're being brutal, if we analyse it in the cold light of day, that defeat exposed him to a certain degree. Yeah. And I'm not trying to be derogatory to his training team or anything like that, but it was clear, wasn't it, that Ruiz exposed some of his frailties in that fight. Namely,
slow recovery being one of them.
Well, yeah, I mean, there was a number of things that weren't right that day, man. Okay, putting aside his condition, his mental state of mind going into that fight, which I thought was off, but even some of the boxing, you know, I mean, some of the fundamental errors he was making were errors that we'd seen him make against the likes of people like Carlos Takam. Even going back as far when he fought Dillian, when he was getting caught by shots clean. So yeah, there was a lot. It appeared that AJ was kind of, if not stagnating, he was he plateaued a little bit, hadn't he?
Yeah.
And he fought Ruiz, and Ruiz exposed those. But then again, AJ won the first couple of rounds, so you can't say that he was outclassed before he got hit.
Hit in the temple, yeah.
I think that the third round was the turning point.
A lot of people that are backing AJ are kind of holding on to that, but...
I'm holding on to it.
Yeah, me too. But let's talk about Ruiz, because, I mean, I don't want it to just be like...
Sure.
As to why AJ lost. I mean, Ruiz did go in there, shock the world. And
no, man, fair play to Ruiz, man. He did his thing.
Has it gone to his head?
It doesn't appear so, you know. He looks, I have to say, I'm impressed by his mental state going into the fight. I mean, I've been following it closely since the first fight. And, okay, he enjoyed himself in the immediate aftermath, didn't he? He bought himself some trinkets, he bought his mum a house.
Why not?
And why not? Yeah, you know, he's waited his whole life to be in this position to take care of his family. So you do your thing, man. But I've been watching him and how he's handling being champion, and he seems to be wearing it well.
Yeah.
He seems, I mean, going into fight week, I have to say, of the two,
he looks more relaxed.
He seems more relaxed, man. He seems to be confident. He's smiling. It's not a forced smile. It's not a forced confidence. He looks sure of himself. He's saying, look, I've had more time to prepare this time, so I'll be even better than I was the first time. I'm confident I've got AJ's number. It's nothing personal. This is business. You know what I mean? I've got the whole of Mexico behind me. He's saying all the right things. And not just that, he's looking like a man who truly believes in himself. And that's a dangerous man.
Yeah.
You know?
So what does Ruiz need to do then? To just, would you
same
say, just
thing.
do the same thing?
Same thing. Come in, behind the jab, keep low, wait for your spots to counter.
Yeah.
Obviously, AJ is going to adopt a different tactic.
What should he do?
He's going to try and box behind the jab as well, but he's going to try and keep it long.
Yeah.
And pivot, use his feet a bit more, which is why a lot of people are making this big thing about the weight, and he's coming in a lot lighter. I don't know, I mean, he does look a lot slimmer than what he normally would look like, but having said that, you know, you try carrying around 17 and a half, 18 stone for 12 rounds, it's going to wear on your stamina. So he does need to be lighter.
One advantage I think for him is with the fight being in Saudi Arabia, it's not in front of his home crowd for one, and the fact that he's not going to feel that pressure from the crowd to deliver an explosive performance. He can go in there, do a Klitschko, make it boring, and like people will kind of in Saudi Arabia, he's not going to get that sort of pressure. I don't feel from the crowd.
That's true.
So, do you think that that's what he needs to do? Can he do that for 12 rounds?
Well, this is it.
He's going to need to hurt him, isn't he?
He is. He's going to. I mean, let's face it. I mean, the one positive thing that AJ can draw from the first fight is that he dropped Ruiz, and he dropped him heavily. I mean, I know Ruiz is trying to come with this narrative. I wasn't hurt, you know.
They all say that, don't they?
But you could clearly see he was hurt. When he got up, he was hurt. He got a little bit lucky because AJ went in recklessly and he was able to counter. And that's fair play to Ruiz because, you know, you're often taught in boxing that, you know, I mean, sometimes attack is the best form of defense.
Yeah.
So he was sufficiently corpus mentis to recognize that, you know, I mean, he should throw punches back. But he was dropped heavily. So if you're AJ, the one positive you can take from that is that even on my worst night, he's going to think it was his worst night. I was still able to drop him and drop him heavy. So that means that translates to he knows he has the power. And deep down so is Ruiz. Because Ruiz can't just run in recklessly come Saturday night. He's going to have to be a little bit more conservative as well. He can't just run in there, not straight away anyway.
No.
Because he knows that AJ has the power to hurt him.
Yeah.
So AJ can take that as a positive. And no doubt him and Robert McCracken, who's a good trainer, they would have sat down and come up with a game plan. And I would imagine that game plan is to work beyond the jab, use your feet, set up your shots, try and give Ruiz angles, maybe even hold when they're getting close, nullify him, you know what I mean, try and tie him up, not give him too much advantages and keep it longer.
Yeah, make it boring.
Yeah, essentially. It's not going to be great to watch. But I don't think it's going to be a boring fight because what I think will happen is AJ will start off with that.
Yeah, might get dragged into
and
it.
Ruiz will obviously try and initiate attacks. And at some point, man, a fight's going to break out.
Yeah.
And it's whether AJ can come through that.
Yeah.
Because he will be caught and he will be hurt. It's if he can handle the heat that Ruiz is going to bring.
Yeah, I think for me, I totally agree with what you said. And I think that there's an old saying in boxing, as we all know, everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face.
Until they get hit. The famous Mike Tyson quote,
And I just think that, I think we're going to know really what AJ has when he gets hit the first time from Ruiz with a hard shot. Because that's going to bring all the memories back from June when they fought. I think that when Ruiz lands on him, then we'll see what kind of fight this is going to be. If Joshua can say, all right, let's go, that's fine, I took it, then we could see a different animal. But
similarly, if AJ lands a big shot on because we know that AJ can punch.
Yeah, he can.
And the last thing that any boxer loses is his punch. Okay, so if he lands clean, trust me, he will hurt Ruiz.
Yeah.
Because Ruiz has not been in with anyone who can punch like him. Okay, so, and he's dropped him heavily, so he knows he can do it. So it's just putting together a game plan that can get you through the fight.
Yeah.
And maybe, I mean, Ruiz can go 12 rounds. He proved that with Josie Parker. But let's face it, he's not the best conditioned athlete in the world, is he?
Hasn't got the best footwork.
No.
He does have quick hands. Like
so if AJ can keep him thinking, moving, not, you know, keep it long, keep it sensible, I think he's got a good chance because he can hurt Ruiz. If Ruiz makes a mistake, he walks onto one. Yeah. It could be a good night for him as well.
So let me get your prediction then as we close out this video. I mean, for me personally, I've been changed my mind and haven't been sure. Like as we approach fight week now, I'm getting the sense that I feel that whereas I was picking Ruiz in my head, I think that AJ might be able to pull it out. I'm still, it could change from now until fight night. It really can. But I'm leaning towards AJ to take it. It could be a points decision. I think he could make it, try and replicate the Joseph Parker fight. Like I said, I think with the fight being in Saudi Arabia helps him massively.
It does.
Helps him more than it helps Ruiz.
Definitely.
And he's going to get the benefit. He's going to get the benefit of the doubt from the judges as well. So if he can stay on his feet and make it boring and frustrate Ruiz and tie him up, then I could see him taking a points decision. But again, my mind could change in a couple of days.
Yeah, I'm with
How about
you
yourself?
on that. Yeah, I'm very similar. It's one of those where, but it's a bit like picking with Arsenal at the moment whether they're going to win.
Oh,
You
no.
sort of have you're divided because you have a prediction in your heart that says that AJ's going to win, but then your head tells you that wow, you know what. But you know what? I'm going to stick my neck out and predict that AJ wins. Close points, one fight, maybe a 1-1-5, 1-1-3, something like that. Maybe even
Could be controversial.
maybe even one of the scorecards might be a draw. I definitely see one or both hitting the deck in this fight.
AJ said he wanted to, like I said, he's going to not go to points, said it'd be a knockout, but...
Yeah, that could well be as well. But I think it's going to be a good fight. I think it's going to be a hard fight. I think one or both of them will hit the floor in this fight because two big punchers, both can be caught. They both hurt each other, despite what Ruiz has been telling people that he wasn't hurt. He clearly was. AJ dropped 4 times in the first fight, so obviously Ruiz can drop him. So yeah, I see a well-contested fight. It might start off as a bit of a slow burner, but it will gain momentum, and then I think we'll end up with a cracking fight. And I'm going for AJ to win, either by a late stoppage or by a close points win. But I see him having to either come off the floor or getting rocked. And like you quite rightly said earlier, the turning point in this fight, or the big moment in this fight, is when Ruiz lands clean. If AJ can hold himself together, take the punch, come back, then I think that's going to tell us a lot about what happens in this fight. But I'm really looking forward to it, actually.
I'm really looking forward to it myself.
We've already had some big fights, Fight of the Year candidates. Errol Spence versus Sean Porter. Denier versus Inoue. You know, I mean, there's been several good fights. There was the Golovkin fight.
Derevchenko, yeah.
Yeah, you know, I mean, we've had some great fights, and this could be another one.
Could be up there.
Because I think the styles are going to make for a good fight.
I agree. And that's our thoughts about the fight, people. If you guys have an opinion on it, feel free to drop them in the comment section below. Like I said, man, I agree. I think that it could go to AJ on points, but I'm really... Like, anyone that knows me on the socials or have been speaking to me about the fight beforehand will tell you that I've been flip-flopping on this one. But I'm really excited for it at the end of the day, and I think it's going to be an amazing spectacle. The undercard is stacked as well. Quick word on the undercard. Is there any fight that you're looking forward to the most on there?
Yeah, it's good to see Dillian back, man. I know he's had his problems with the drug test that all sorts of things are going on there. But, I don't want to be judgmental on that. We'll have to wait for the full facts to come out.
Yep.
But I'm a Dillian fan, as I'm sure a lot of your viewers are.
They are.
And, yeah, man, it's great to see him back in the ring. So I'm particularly looking forward to that fight. So
yeah,
let's hope he gets a win. He's fighting Mariusz Wach, big,
Yep.
strong, tall Polish guy. I expect him to hang around and present some issues for Dillian, but I fully expect Dillian to come through and win, either by a comprehensive points win or by maybe even a late stoppage.
Yeah.
I mean, I know Jarrell Miller looked a bit ponderous, but he got the win over him. I fully expect Dillian to do the same, but in a better fashion.
Yeah.
Because he's a better fighter.
Agreed. And Povetkin and Hunter as well.
Yeah, that is a very good fight,
a very
actually.
good fight,
You know what? I like Michael Hunter, man.
Mm.
I mean, he's not the biggest heavyweight in the world, but the guy's got mad skills. You know, actually, he's not too dissimilar to Ruiz, although he hasn't got the punch of Ruiz.
Yep.
In that he's a shorter guy. Aesthetically, doesn't look great, does he? He's not ripped, ain't got a six pack. He ain't got that old AJ thing going on. But he's very skillful, and he's very good at making bigger guys look clumsy, nullify them, and then go on and beat them down and beat them up.
I think he's going to have to make Povetkin feel his age, isn't he? In that
Yeah,
fight?
exactly, and I think that's what he'll do. I mean, Povetkin's still dangerous because he's got the experience. He's a big puncher, and he's a wily veteran. But I'm fully expecting Hunter to do a number on him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that wraps it up, man. Thank you guys for taking the time out to watch this video. If you haven't subscribed already, feel free to. I'm on about 500 plus subscribers now, so want to try and get that up next year. But thank you all for listening, and let me know your fight predictions in the comment section below as well, and we'll catch you guys after the fight.
Like, share, subscribe.